The Switch has been a force in the gaming world. Nobody expected it to do as well as it has, and I'm glad that it's doing well, because it's given me some of my favorite games. It's also given me another chance to play games I already liked. Just like all modern consoles, the Switch has many ports, remakes, remasters, and collections of the past. I've teamed up with my good friend Ty, who runs the Tynology gaming channel and a podcast that he hosts called The Tycast. If you haven't seen his work, I've put a convenient link in the description to his channel.
What's up, Neander Meander? Thank you for that awesome introduction. I am Tynology. I run a YouTube channel called Tynology Gaming, where I talk about whatever I want, talk about controllers and headsets and stuff like that. So I have a video up with Neander as well, so be sure to check that out.
We're going to go over 5 of our favorite ports, remakes, remasters, or game collections on the Switch. When Ninja Gaiden Master Collection was announced for the Switch, I couldn't wait for it to come out. I've been playing the Ninja Gaiden games since the first one came out on the original Xbox. I walked into a Blockbuster and bought this copy of Ninja Gaiden for $10. It's discounted because the disc contained a manufacturer's defect, or so it was categorized as having one. I played a demo of the game earlier in the year and thought $10 was a good price to gamble on a defective disc. I played this game in its entirety without any issue. I don't know why it was marked as having a defect. It quickly became one of my favorite games on the Xbox, and I played it multiple times. But the game in this collection that I really want to highlight is Ninja Gaiden 2. This is one of my all-time favorites. I've played through it way more times than the first game. The action is fast, and you really feel like you're in control of Ryu. The controls are ultra responsive. I remember playing Breath of the Wild for the first time and thinking, I wish this controlled like Ninja Gaiden 2. Because Link had to go through this long animation that kind of threw me off when I would push the attack button. I eventually got used to those animations in Breath of the Wild. In contrast to that, most actions in Ninja Gaiden 2 are instantaneous. There are some moves that have animation that take time to pull off, but it doesn't feel like it does because of how fluid the gameplay is. And though the games in the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection are the Sigma versions that were initially only on the PS3, they are roughly the same game with varying differences. I bought a PS Vita just so I could play these games portably. And yes, they are the same Sigma versions that are in the Master Collection. I'm so glad they brought it over to the Switch, so I can play it at my house or on the go. If you haven't tried these games out, I highly suggest finding and playing any version of them. Luckily, you can get all 3 in this collection.
My picks might be a little weird because I don't have the best taste in video games. I should note that this was not the first time I shot this video. The first time I had another game on this list, and that was Alien Isolation. Now, I've never played Alien Isolation, but I've watched a bunch of my friends stream it, and it looks absolutely beautiful. In fact, it looks better than every other platform, including PS4 and Xbox One, because it came out a little bit later. They optimized the dynamic resolution and the lighting, and it just runs beautifully. Be sure to check out Alien Isolation and get it on the Switch because it's the best version. That said, one of my favorite ports of all time for the Nintendo Switch is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. I still vividly remember the first time I played the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater on the PlayStation 1. You know, I skated growing up, and we were just playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater for hours. I remember just being blown away at this game and all the things you could do, and you just felt like superhuman, maybe like a Superman. I think Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 were the pinnacle of the Tony Hawk games, the pinnacle of skateboarding games in general. The level design, the challenges, the skater roster. One of the coolest things is that they nailed the controls. It feels identical to how it played on the PS1. The other thing is that it actually looks really good on the Switch. You can see how much effort they put into specifically the Switch port to make it look as good as possible and still run really smooth. All of the quality of life improvements are all great. The number one reason why I put it on here is because this is a perfect type of game that I'd like to play portably. And the only way to do that is on the Nintendo Switch. And so I'll put it on my Switch Lite or my new OLED Switch, and I can play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater whenever I want. And it looks great and it runs great. They just hit a home run with this game. What is crazy is that you don't even have to be a skateboarding fan to enjoy this game. How intuitive the controls are, how smart the challenges are, how fun it is to just explore. When I travel, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 is always with me. And it's probably what I play most when I'm on the road. You can play it offline, play it on the go. You can do little quick sessions in bursts. You know I like that. So my first pick for the best Nintendo Switch port goes to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Back to you, Neander.
It's no secret that I'm a huge fan of the Wii U. It seems like I'm gravitated towards subjects surrounding it. During the Wii U's run, it got some seriously great games. One of the most memorable, and arguably one of the best Mario games, was made for the Wii U. It's filled with charm and character. Almost every level is beaming with it. The world part of the name is a fun spin on Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo, though it doesn't have much to do with Super Mario World at all, aside from a somewhat similar overworld. In fact, it shares more with Super Mario Bros. 2. You can choose to play as one of the 4 main characters of that game: Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, and Toad. Their unique characteristics are also there. Mario being the all-around character, Luigi can jump the highest, Princess Peach can float temporarily, but is the slowest, and Toad can run the quickest, but has the weakest jump. Rosalina is also an unlockable character. She has a nice spin attack, but is last in speed. Speaking of running, there are 2 speeds for each character, the normal speed, and the one that's even faster. You can tell by a burst of fire and a smoke trail that follows the character. This game plays very much like its predecessor, bridging the gap between a 2D and 3D game, bringing elements from 2D gaming and making them playable in 3D. The art style is almost identical. The controls feel pretty much the same, and the level designs are very similar. Even the environments are very alike. It's a game that I really enjoyed playing through, but there's one problem with Super Mario 3D World. It's on the Wii U, and nobody bought a Wii U, meaning hardly anybody played it. But luckily, Nintendo gave it a second life on the Switch. Super Mario 3D World reaches a level of excellence that's rarely seen, and the Switch version improves and excels beyond that original, making it the definitive way to play it. There have been several changes, like the interactive elements where you blow into the microphone on the Wii U gamepad to get the platforms to move on their own. But the most significant change is with the running speed. The characters are way faster in this version. They also reach the second faster speed much quicker than the original Wii U game. I'd much rather play this quicker version of the game. I used to find myself running in circles on the Wii U version just to reach that top speed. But this is only half the story. This game doesn't contain just one game. Nintendo gave us another one to play alongside it: Bowser's Fury. Unlike 3D World, this game is more like a traditional 3D Mario game. It's wide open and allows you to move around without the narrow paths that are in 3D World, something closer to Mario Odyssey than Super Mario Bros. U. Yet it doesn't feel like Odyssey, as the controls and moveset are the same as 3D World. The biggest difference from the core game is the lack of a timer. The one thing I don't like about Super Mario 3D World is the timer. I like to explore the games I play, and the timer really hampers the fun of exploration. When it was first announced, I thought it was going to be something that would be around an hour, and consist of very minimal things to do. I was shocked when it kept on going. I like that the art style and assets remain the same as what they are in the core 3D World game. It's fun to see this wide open world in the same style. It's really fun fighting the enormous Bowser as a giant version of Mario in the catsuit. These dark and moody sections of the gameplay are a welcomed addition that I really enjoyed playing through. I hope to see more of this in future Mario games. This was a great add-on to an already great game. I'm happy we were given something new with this version of Super Mario 3D World. If you skipped the Switch version because you played the Wii U game, or if you never played it at all, it's definitely worth picking up.
Hey, I'm back. So my second game for the best ports on the Nintendo Switch goes to, and this is a weird one, I know, Rocket League. And this all comes down to portability. Rocket League fills a void that exists in the Nintendo Switch library, which is sports games. Rocket League isn't quite a sports game, but it satisfies that itch for me. Basically, Rocket Car Soccer. That's what it is. And there's all these different game modes now. It's all free to play. And the fact that I can play it portably, I can sit on my couch and just play it on my Switch, is an absolute game changer. Rocket League is a game that I can sit down and play for 5 minutes, or I can sit down and play for 5 hours. If I'm gonna do the 5 hours, I'll probably play on my PC or my PS5. But if I want to sit down and just do something quick, or if I'm on the road or something, the easiest, best, most fun way to play it is on the Nintendo Switch. That said, you can run it at 720p, 60 frames per second in handheld mode, which is awesome. And it doesn't look that much worse. It holds up surprisingly well for all the stuff that's going on in that game. It's just fun to hop in and fly around with your little rocket car and knock in some goals and then get yelled at by your teammates. The other thing is the complete cross save ability. I'll be playing on my PC, I pick up my Switch and it knows exactly where I am. That's a huge benefit. And there's a Mario car, a Luigi car, and 2 Metroid cars. No one else can see them if they're not on Switch, but they're still there and you can drive them. You don't see a whole lot of crossovers like that, especially with third-party games. With the lack of sports games on the Switch, you know, like there's FIFA. The FIFA games on the Switch are horrible. You don't get a lot of sports-style games on the Switch, and that's one of the shortcomings of the library on the Switch. The reason why this is one of my favorite ports is portability, cross-save functionality, and it's free, and it satisfies that itch for a competitive sports style game. I'm still not very good at aerials, but you can catch me playing some Rocket League at least a couple times a week. My best Switch port, number 2, goes to Rocket League. Thank you for having me on. It was an absolute pleasure. Be sure to check out my video on the best indie games on the Nintendo Switch featuring Neander Meander. It's live now. Have a good night. Cheers.
If there's ever been a game in existence that needed and deserved a second chance, it's Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. This game is one of the greatest platformers ever made. When it was initially announced for the Wii U, I would look up news every morning for updates on its development. I loved Donkey Kong Country Returns, which was the game that got me back into gaming when I had lost most interest in it. I was drawn into each level as the soundtrack reminded me of my long-gone childhood with the original Super Nintendo game. Though as the levels and worlds passed by, I noticed that some of my favorite levels from Donkey Kong Country weren't represented in this new game. There are no water or snow levels. They're just not there, which for most people is a good thing. But I'm not most people. I like the swimming levels. I also like the slippery snow and ice stages. But I needed not fret, because Retro Studios was about to give me those levels. In 2014, they released Tropical Freeze. And by reading the title, this game is all about ice and snow. The intro cutscene solidifies this game is going to have plenty of snow and ice, though they didn't show up until later in the game. But, to my surprise, at the very beginning of the first level, Donkey Kong drops out of a wrecked airplane, and after you grab the extra life balloon to the left, you head right and drop into water. Instead of instantly dying, you start swimming, and out of nowhere, aquatic ambience starts swelling in the background. These water stages take a step forward from the original trilogy, because Retro Studios let go of the 80s controls and made navigating underwater much more enjoyable. This game is much more than just water and ice levels. There are worlds and levels that have some of the most creative and imaginative designs that I've ever seen in any game. I mean, you ride Rambi the Rhino through a tornado, and take on a whole world based around a fruit factory. Each level is a phase of the factory process. It's so good. The music is also top tier. They brought back David Wise, who composed the music for the first 2 games, and Donkey Kong Country 3 on the Game Boy Advance. The Switch version is almost the same as the Wii U game. It adds an easy mode in the form of a playable Funky Kong that has benefits that the other characters don't. Those other characters are Diddy Kong, Dixie Kong, and Cranky Kong, all of which have different abilities that will help navigate certain levels. Diddy makes a comeback with his jetpack, Cranky can Scrooge McDuck Pogo on his cane, and Dixie has by far the best ability. She can use her hair to float and gain some altitude. If by somehow you let Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze pass you by, it's absolutely worth picking up. The Switch has been a force in the gaming world. It's where some of the best games Nintendo has ever made reside. It's also given some games a second chance, a chance that many of them deserved after enduring the short and painful run on the Wii U. With this second chance, they've been able to rise where they should have been in the first place. And even though you can play these games on their original hardware, the Switch has made it so easy to play them wherever you are. Here's to hoping we get more ports, remakes, and remasters on the Switch.